Hey everybody, today is October 23rd, 2023. I am Gene, and welcome to the Monday edition of Hanging with Uncle. We have a lot to get into today, so before we get started, please hit that subscribe button. We're really trying to grow the channel. And hit that like button, that thumbs up, it helps to spread the word. And that bell on the far right, that's the notification bell. Click that, and you'll be notified whenever we go live and put new content out there. So having said that, let's get back into it. And back with us today is my man on the street, Brent Naple. Brent, how's it going?
Great, Gene. Thanks for having me again, brother. Yeah, a lot of stuff happening out there, man. A lot of interesting stuff about politics and, of course, the war that's ongoing right now.
There really is a lot, and from what's going on with all the trials and indictments to, like you said, the war and the fallout that's having, and the dysfunction in Congress. But I think as a people, as citizens, we are the government. It's run by we the people, and we have the authority by who we vote for. So it's important to stay engaged, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and it's good to be engaged with everything that's going on, but you really got to pay attention to the details. Even I mess up with all the type of misinformation and disinformation that's going on, because you hear one thing and then a week later the truth comes out. So this is why it's so important to be engaged at all times, especially with all the different things that could affect you from a threat level. I met I met with I really don't like what Sarah No Fuckabee said the other day, and you know a little bit more about that. Why don't you tell us about what happened there?
So what she's doing is a classic diversionary tactic. She's in hot water for misuse of taxpayer funds by spending almost $20,000 on a podium. That a normal podium, a good top of the line podium, probably will cost you around $5,000 if you look at it. But the funny thing is that the person she got the podium from was her friend, who it just so happens was also springing for a trip for her and the governor to go on a trip, I think to Jamaica someplace. But what she does is wants to divert away from the attention. So when they ask her about that, she says, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the things the people are interested in, like who's going to give me another donut. No, that's just like this. I can't stand this woke term she likes to use a lot, trying to divert attention. And so to me, I've talked about how I feel about the word woke, right? So according to Webster's dictionary, woke is defined as being aware of and actively attentive to important social facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice. So when I hear Sarah B. Sanders talking about how she's trying to be anti-woke, does that mean she's trying to keep people stupid? She doesn't want them paying attention as to what's going on around them in politics and what government is doing? Does she not want people to pay attention to racial and social justices going on in the world, and the facts about the book she want to ban about Martin Luther King? And I mean, don't get me started about the hypocrisy. So to me, she just looks like a dumbass when she uses that word woke and throwing it out there like it's supposed to invoke some boogeyman response, when to me, it just makes her look like a dumbass.
Yeah, I think she's doing that to go ahead and stir the base. She understands that woke is a big word in the Republican Party. She knows that money could be coming up from the elections here in 2024. She has other cronies that help out. I don't think she's going through election again for another 2 years.
Right.
But she knows by greasing the wheels, she's going to be going ahead and getting support from them, 3 years down the road from now. But as for woke, I look at that word, it's been being used for probably thousands of years, actually, for anybody that disagrees with it. Even when people were talking about whether the earth is flat or not, people saying it's round, there's people in the church saying, oh, you're woke by the evil demons.
Yeah. So
they understand that word is a word that really doesn't make sense to begin with. So by using ambiguity there, it kind of greases the wheels for her to divert attention from what she just did. So basically, if she's spending $5,000 on a podium and charging 20, well, I could see her spending maybe $7,000 to reinforce that stage because she can't stop eating the donuts, right?
To me, if I'm going to spend $20,000 on a podium, it better be the one Melissa McCarthy used when she was riding a Segway and had it dressed up like a podium on Saturday Night Live, and she was impersonating Sean Spicer.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Bushman.
Riding down, Fifth Avenue or wherever, Rockefeller Center is where they filmed Saturday Night Live, on this Segway, dressed up as a podium with the presidential seal on it, and she's yelling and screaming at everybody. It was hilarious. So if I'm going to spend $20,000 on a podium, it better be that.
Well, I mean, if she's going to Jamaica, first of all, I can't get out of the back of my mind the movie Below and all the cocaine cowboys that were flying into Arkansas. So maybe she's going down and taking a little pot break in Jamaica, sitting next to the beautiful waterfall there. It's just crazy that she would do this if there's so much issues going on right now.
Yeah.
For her to go ahead and even begin to do this, and so if you watch the video, and I watched the first 4 minutes until she said, can I ask some questions? Because her whole answer about woke was kind of giving me the impression that she doesn't believe in freedom of speech to begin with. So that was really disturbing to me.
Well, to me...
And then... Go ahead, man.
She when my sons lived in Arkansas, because that's where they went to school. They went to a high school there and college. They were telling me how she still supports segregated proms. That if that's what the schools want to do, it should be their freedom to do it. She's all about infringing on people's rights, on the First Amendment, freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, your freedom to love who you want. It's like, if you don't think like me, you're wrong, which is, again, a violation of freedom of religion. The first sentence in the preamble of the Constitution says that Congress shall pass no law that infringes on somebody's religious rights, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably butchering the preamble, but basically that means you can believe what you want, but don't make it law and infringe on what I believe. And that's the problem that I see with that whole wokeness, because that's what they're trying to disguise. They don't want you to pay attention to what's going on. And again, just by reading the definition, you're a dumbass. Personally, I want the most educated generation, growing up after me and the one after it, to make sure that we prosper as a civilization and a species. I want everybody to be woke and pay attention, because I believe in global warming. It doesn't, mean that, oh my God, everything's getting hot. It means that our weather patterns are getting very extreme. So, like the hurricanes, for example, in Florida, you'll hear them talk about, oh, they're still coming with the same intensity and the same speed, and what's new with that? There's no such thing as global warming. All the time, they're not telling you that, while maybe the first one was 5 miles wide, then the last one was 100 miles wide. And that makes a big difference when you're calculating the damage, even if it is coming at you at speed and velocity or whatever. Because I learned this a long time ago. The definition of physical power is mass times speed. And the bigger those hurricanes are coming, the bigger the mass. At that speed will do more damage. And that's what they don't want to understand. And that's just physics. So that when I think of, not being woke, I'm thinking of not understanding what's going on and how the weather is changing around us.
Yeah, it's also like how long the systems are staying above our country too, because how it's getting drawn in and stalled into our jet stream. So as these hurricanes are bigger, but we'll probably get into another subject here a little bit.
Well, to me again, it was a whole thing about woke. Don't pay attention to what's going on. Climate change isn't real, and that is a whole other show about the things that are happening, the ice shelves that are breaking off, and the more devastation around the world that these events are causing. But
what was crazy to me is how both parties worked at one way or the other. No climate change. Oh my God, there's so much climate change. So there's no middle ground to get anything done because we're at two different odds of each other. Like, oh my God, the road's going to end, and it's not. It's just another storm. So with science, you need to go ahead and discuss it openly. And if you're having people scream at you from both sides, it's really hard to understand that. And that's the whole thing with woke, with what's going on too with politics.
Well, I don't think really it's so much, and I'm just like playing devil's advocate here. I don't think it's so much Democrats disagreeing with climate change, because that's the whole reason President Biden wanted to pass infrastructure and build coastal windmills instead of oil rigs, to generate power. He's wanting to invest in upgrades. So the only party, if you want to go political, standing in opposition of that are the Republicans.
Well, but you get them both on either side kind of being very dramatic of the effects of it, I think. And there is effects of global warming and all this stuff we're talking about, but I think they're using that as kind of a campaign fodder or, political talking points more, But you have an issue too with Sarah, just how it was set up on that stage was crazy too. So she had one person speak to him. Of course, she had the token black person standing next to her. She had that lady right up front and center. But then her expert on it basically came in and talked for 40 seconds and didn't actually say anything. She said a few things about women, reproduction, and basically about how women are, their pregnancies are good basically, and they're people too. But she didn't really give anything to back it up. Either one of them. It was a 4-minute show of nothing.
They never do. It's all accusation and spin. They never present facts. And to me, the whole election was stolen is that big thing. They're still screaming fake election after how many times in a court of law it was struck down because they provided no evidence. So that's the way I look at it, man. They will always deny. They will never look at the truth, and the only thing to do to change that again is to educate our posterity on what's going on. And I told you my prediction for 2026, and I'm not ready to spill it out yet, but I think our younger generations coming up are going to say, move out of the way, we're here to take charge.
Oh, so, man.
Yeah.
Too, if you look at Arkansas, how she's running it, too, with the woke and all that, I mean, they really need to get more education. I mean, I know your children went there and all that, but the thing is Arkansas, I think, is the second or third poorest state in the country. Yeah. And their education levels are, I think, in the same level.
So
really for standardized testing. She knows that.
As governor, she brags about how they've cut taxes, which means if you pay attention, it sounds good. Yeah, my taxes got cut. No. What that means is the state of Arkansas is losing revenue, and they're going to take it out of the working class to try and make up for it. And that is the cycle that really just befuddles me, how people could continue to vote against their own best interest when they can't see what's going on right in front of them.
Man. Well, since you mentioned segue, maybe we should have a segue into our next point.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Run with it.
So, basically, there's a lot of anti-Semitism going on throughout the country. I've been actually battling this for a long time. That's why I went to Harper's Ferry. It's not just anti-Semitism, but it's anti-human behavior going on. But I saw what was going on to be a threat to certain populations. And it always comes down to blaming certain groups. And usually a lot of people like to blame the Jewish population on this. So, I'm from Michigan. I knew there was a bad problem there. It's actually probably the reason why I left and started going and living in other states. I come back and I visit and I love the people there, but how some of the things are kind of coming out are really bad. So I'm watching the Michigan State game, the biggest game in the country on Saturday night. And lo and behold, an hour before the game comes on, they have a thing on their biggest screen posting about Adolf Hitler. So Adolf Hitler comes on and says, well, guess what country he's from? And the answer was Austria, of course. But yeah. The question to begin with is, why in the hell are you posting that on your big screen to begin with?
Well, Brent, I remember a picture you sent me of a guardrail there, where nearby where you were staying at one point. And that says it all. It's about the people that live there. It's not about so much like, we know hatred is wrong, but they don't care. That's what they want, and they're going to promote it. And if that's where they are, and they feel comfortable enough to put their nasty, sick message, like what they did on the guardrail, like you showed me, that's who's in charge. That's where the money's coming from, man. So we should not underestimate the hatred of these people that have anti-Semitic feelings. And personally, in my opinion, I know a lot of it is now, it's been going on forever, but I know it's resurfaced. They're trying to make the issue of the uprising between Israel and Hamas. So if really that's what you want to make it about, my question is, how is stabbing someone in front of their synagogue going to have an impact on what's going on in Israel, between Israel and Hamas? You know,
It has.
think.
Yeah, it's a trigger to create further chaos. So the sign that, of course, George is talking about is the KKK sign. So the area I lived in Harper's Ferry, and I'm part German too. My grandfather, even though we're Italian, Russian, and Jewish, and we have my father's side is German and Lithuanian, he said that we were Aryan. So when I went down there, I knew exactly what I was facing, and I saw it, and I tried to combat it. I tried to get other agencies to help clean it up, and it seemed like that was a no-go right now, and I won't talk about that right now. But the thing is the Germanic population, the German population is 31% of the Caucasian or white population in America. It grew after World War I and World War II. It started to come to a point, and the KKK is basically the Germanic push against the blacks and all people, basically accept them.
I have a
because
question.
They believe, huh?
I have a question.
Sure.
Would I be safe if I said Hail Hydra?
Hail Hydra.
I'm sorry, I was Marvel, man. I was doing Captain America.
Yeah, I remember Hydra there.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But you get other groups too that are anti-Semitic too. So, you know, a lot of people don't understand what the Catholic group is and the Knights at Columbus, but they were a competing faction against the KKK for a while. Whether they cleaned up their act or not, I don't know. But the problem is I've seen all these groups come together in Michigan when I was growing up. It's part of the reason why I got the fuck out of Dodge. It was just too much bullshit, man. So when this screen, when it came on this big screen, and then, first of all, Michigan State blamed it on a third-party vendor. Well, shit. You got a lot of problems going on at your university. Maybe you got to lock it down a little bit. You had a school shooting there that killed a bunch of children, basically. You know, a bunch of college kids going there to depend on you for an education. Then there was the thing with the Nestor, the guy from the Olympics, and now the coach, and now the black coach, and this and that. You figured you'd get your shit together by that time. So now what the problem is Michigan State is where the capital of Michigan is. So this is happening in Governor Whitmore's backyard. So why can't she talk to these people and figure out how to go ahead and actually make sure that they're on some type of understanding that this makes Michigan look bad? So when this happened on our big screen, go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, you know, to me, there are so many different hate groups and pockets of militias in Michigan. It would be almost impossible to weed it out. I would correlate it to her trying to get that out like it would be to get Hamas out of the Gaza Strip. It would be a cluster. She'd be spinning her wheels. And even if, like, they file for petitions to do parades, you know, if they have a right under the First Amendment of freedom of assembly. And so, you know, it's like they get their petitions just like anybody else does. It's a hard question, man. You know, it's very hard. And, you know, if she comes down on them, does it look like she's profiling against them? I'm only being devil's advocate. Personally, I wish she'd clean them all up. You know, I agree with you. I'm just trying to help give you some insight as to what may be going through her mind, because a lot of times that's hard for people who only want to see things their way. And it's important to try and step in the shoes of somebody else. So that's my opinion on Governor Whitmer.
Yeah, but a public awareness campaign, which I've been trying to do through the school districts in Michigan for the last 5 months before even the Michigan State collapse, and I understood all the militias. I mean, I seen them form. I know exactly why they formed. And I'm sure if I understood that, she has to get out a unified message to protect her constituents, and not only just constituents, but her electorate, all the people in Michigan. So she has to go ahead, and this is the thing that happened too. So that whole FBI case with the people that were going after her, nothing happened with that, Gene. And that so her ability to actually defend her state is being, because our law or our interpretation of hate crime is being argued in a court of law and being shot down or weakened every time.
Let's back up a second. Let's back up a second, because I want to say there were at least a half a dozen people that were arrested in that attempt to have her kidnapped. I think a couple of them may have had one of the charges dropped or reduced, but there have been people arrested in that case. I can't remember if it's been to trial yet or not. I doubt it, but
it has. It has, and at least maybe a few of them. But yeah, that's actually, I reached out to them, telling them I would get involved in the case. That happened. I want to say that happened. But anyways, let's just go on to the main part of it. So this lady gets attacked now. I think it happened on maybe Sunday night.
Yeah.
It wasn't Saturday night, it was Sunday night. And so she's going into the synagogue, and she gets brutally stabbed right out in the open. And this is such a brutal attack. It's like the attacks that you see going on in Gaza. You're going, oh my goodness, what's happening? Well, this are the same type of attacks that are happening in America, but there's so many of them that we're getting numbed from it. We're getting numbed. We're getting, kind of conditioned to the chaos, where the media might cover it for a day or two, but if you connect those dots, I would say Michigan State had a heck of a lot to do with that, just from them not. So what are they going to do? They just thought, we got to review our third-party process. So it sounds like they're going to get another third party to do it. So that actually cuts down on their accountability or their culpability in a court of law by going through a third party. So that's another thing. So they got to fucking take on the responsibility. What they post at their stadium should be handled by them and their university.
I agree.
It shouldn't be farmed out to another place.
I agree.
And that gets to the same point about kind of Huckabee and I don't know.
And that tactic, sending it out to a third party, is sending it out there to someone who's going to make sure you're not accountable. And so it's a ploy, it's a game, it's a smoke and mirrors game. Well, look what we're doing to try and solve this problem, and it looks like, okay, well, they're trying something, when in reality, it's just give a little kickback to somebody to write a report to say, hey, this guy did nothing wrong and we don't know who it came from, we can't trace it. I mean, we already know what the result's going to be.
Just to give you clarification too, University of Michigan's more the liberal school. They try to protect their rights of their students a little bit more. Michigan State's slightly more conservative, they always have been, and they have been more the breeding ground for actually hate. And when you look at the hate groups, now, that's a big statement to make, and I'm not making it now, and I can't actually prove it with any type of facts right now, but if you look at Timothy McVeigh and these people that are coming out of that area, they're coming out of that northern Michigan area. And what I saw back in the 70s and 80s, where there was a lot of people going to these camps up in Kalkaska area, certain areas of Michigan that were known to be a white establishment area.
So
I'd like to...
I was saying, we had just like maybe a little bit of time left. I just wanted to say that, Timothy McVeigh came from there. I subscribe to the Southern Law Poverty Center, and man, all I can tell you is the information that they have. Michigan is one of the most heavily populated hate crime groups in the United States.
So, I want to just mention this for Speaker of the House. I don't know, I kind of know this guy a little bit. Do you know who Rick Bergman is?
Yes.
No. Okay, he's from Michigan. He's from the 1st District, which is basically Traverse City, Kalkaska, all the way up through the UP, all the way through the 906. Now the thing is with this guy is, he is a military guy. I think he was a brigadier general or a general, I don't know if it was the Army, I want to say it was the Army. But he has a military pedigree to him. He actually is more conservative. He's very old. He's like, I think he's in his 70s, but I was going to reach out to him in the next couple of days, but I was thinking, what do you think about him? Because we're going to pick out a bunch of Republicans here. Okay. Have you thought about that at all? Who's, of course,
I have.
Thank goodness Jordan isn't there no more. What do you think?
No, so there are 9 Republicans that are vying for the Speaker of the House. And I can tell you that I would only be okay with 2 of them being the Speaker, and that guy is not one of them, because only 2 of them voted to certify the election. The other ones were election deniers, and I don't want election deniers in a position of authority to be, second in line behind the Vice President toward the White House. So that's why I do not support that guy.
Okay. And then I think he just was serving his 1st term. So probably those people, a lot of those election deniers were people that were, maybe on there for a couple years, that had a little bit more background. Their constituents knew him no more. So he might have been a little bit more going with the popular, thing at that time, which isn't good. I'm not saying that's good at all, but, from a perspective of him trying to get re-elected in the district he's in, I mean, I think he's just trying to play middle of the road with that. But I'm not saying he's the best candidate. I just knew about him because I've been looking at those candidates too. So who do you like out of those 2? Out of the 1 or 2, who do you like better?
Well, the one that makes the most sense to me is Tom Emmer. He's the 3rd in line right now in the Republican House, and he voted to certify the election, which means, it's not so much, again, I'm not behind, oh my God, no, it's got to be this party in charge. If you support the Constitution, then I can get behind you as long as what you're doing is you're trying to help the American people. And accepting the truth and accepting the results of an election that's a very low bar to have to hurdle to say he meets my qualifications, because I really don't agree with like 99% of the stuff he says, but he did vote in favor of the Constitution by supporting Joe Biden's win.
Yeah, he did. And he's from the Midwest.
Minnesota.
Minnesota, yo.
So I want to end with one thing, because we're over time, but
sure, man.
I know we've talked about this before, but I think with this anti-Semitism stuff, I think it would be a good idea just to let everybody know that at some point I would like to get together with people of other faiths, Jews, Muslims, Catholics, anybody else that would like to be represented, and just have a discussion to find out, just from regular people, what common ground we have and what we can do to work together from that perspective. Because I'm not one of these so-called experts in international intelligence and diplomacy, but I bet just by having normal conversation with people, we could accomplish quite a bit. That's just my optimism.
Yeah, that's a roundtable, a good roundtable discussion to have, man. Because that's what we need, is we need to have educated people talking about current events in a open medium where there won't feel any guilt or any, you have to accept people and then listen to them. If you push back on them, this just causes more like distrust.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is we know some people from all over the planet that could actually help us do that. So that's what, that's kind of what is unique. And, we do listen. We have critical listening skills, and we develop critical thinking skills to go ahead and help for the greater good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you again for being on the show, Brent. I always enjoy the wonderful conversation. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Really, brother, I think we touched it all.
All right, well, then that's all the time we have for today, and thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Please be kind to one another and treat each other the way you want to be treated. I'm Gene, and thank you again, Brent.
Yeah, bye-bye.